Hello everyone, this is Nick Perry of Schaeffer's Investment Research with your chart slideshow for Friday, March 16th. Today I am back with my weekly check of the broad market indices. In last week's chart slideshow, we were talking about congestion. In the previous week we'd seen the SPX and the other broad market indices, with those nasty dips there, and basically we're talking about how the SPX and the Dow had kind of bounced up into congestion. The same on the comp. The rut was slightly different. It was holding above this support here, but it was in this longer term congestion zone. So basically the theme was short-term action, kind of pushing into congestion, sort of wait to see attitude. But I ended that chart slideshow by talking about the percent of stocks hitting oversold levels. And basically this is an indicator that I've been following. I've been talking about it pretty much nonstop in the blog. And basically what we have seen is we hit an extreme. More than half my database of stocks pushed into oversold levels. And you tend to see this hit near bottoms. Maybe not at the exact bottom, and maybe you don't see a bounce as soon as you see that, but that tends to be when you see the spikes, you tend to be near an exhaustion point. So that's sort of where I left things on Friday. So let's go ahead and turn to this week's charts. In a nutshell, I would basically say that we're still stuck in congestion. Basically, the SPX was rejected at that little zone there, dipped below last week's lows. We've since bounced, and we end up pretty much in between the lows and the highs there. You look at the Dow, pretty much the same thing. We dipped below those lows there on an intraday basis, popped back above, and now we're sort of just kind of sitting right above that. You look at the comp, pretty much the same thing. We're just trapped in these little mini consolidations. Maybe that's something to just sort of highlight on all these charts. The fact that we've had the big dip, and now we've got these consolidations. And to the same extent, the rut's holding above support here, but still the idea that you've got this consolidation following, the big plunge. Just to completely draw all over the charts, there we go. Basically highlight the little dip and then the consolidation. If you've been following the action, intraday during the week, it's been fairly whippy. I mean, we saw some nasty action, we saw some bounces, we've seen some back and forth. And basically, this fits with the point I was trying to make last week in the chart, when we looked at the chart about the percent of stocks hitting oversold levels. Basically, what you tend to see is you're nearer a bottom when you get those exhaustion points, but that does not mean that you just expect to see an immediate bounce. You see a lot of back and forth. And in the blog this week, I talked about these lows here, last week's lows, keeping an eye on those. It's something to watch. Even if we tested below it, held above it on a closing basis, even if we closed a little bit below it, I'm not, again, as I've said, I don't draw a fine line in the sand and say step over it and it's completely busted. I tend to look at it in the context of the trend, in the context of the bigger picture items, and basically we're in a period where you would expect to see some volatility. You would expect to see some whipsaw moves, and that's basically what's going on. Nothing too remarkable from this week's action. There seems to be a lot of people sort of talking about the retest and maybe a little bit of a gloom setting in here. Basically, people saying, well, we didn't get the immediate snapback, so that means maybe this rally's done. I don't buy into that. Just on face value. Again, we're seeing what you would expect to see. You're seeing some back and forth action. This market's kind of on pins and needles right now. It doesn't take much to sort of set people going in one direction or the other. And as soon as you get a little bit of movement, there tends to be a pile-on effect. We run this way, then we turn around and we run that way. And that's what you see in these periods, especially after you're coming out of a period of just almost no volatility. People are kind of antsy, looking to jump on things. So I'd say my overall takeaway from this week is more or less where I left it last week. Expect to see some volatility. Based on these charts, it looks like there's nothing to suggest to me that we're not nearer the bottom than we are. Basically that we should be somewhat close to a bottom is what I'm stammering and stumbling over. But anyway, it's late on Friday, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the week up. That's my thoughts. Stay tuned to the blog for further updates.